Thank you for joining us for this podcast. We're talking about the postseason awards, MVPs, Coach of the Years, and the offensive, defensive players and rookies of the year. I'm here with Tom Jackson. So Tom, let's talk about the MVP.
Yes.
First rookie running back since Jim Brown to win the MVP. Ezekiel Elliott had a great season. He broke all the rookie records for rushing, and he won MVP. Beat out Dak Prescott, Andy Dalton, and some other players. So, do you think Zeke was worthy of that MVP title?
Ezekiel Elliott was the driving force of that Dallas Cowboys, team to an undefeated 16-0 record. You have to give it to a guy that's obviously on an undefeated team. Now, it could have went to Dak Prescott, but with Zeke breaking the records, I think put him over the edge that gave him the slight edge over Dak Prescott. So I have no issues with Zeke winning the MVP award.
Now, do you think Jimmy Johnson's decision to bench Dak Prescott for turning around in the past couple weeks, do you think that affected the voters' vote as well?
I'm sure that hurted his chances just a little bit, but obviously I think the voters knew going into these last couple of weeks that Zeke has been the guy that was primarily responsible for their wins and losses. Now, he didn't have every game where he had monster games, but his presence on the field helped out Dak Prescott to allow him to move the ball throughout the air. So I think if you don't have Zeke, you don't have Dak at his top potential as well. So you still got to give it to the young bull out in the backfield.
Okay, that's respectable. But let's talk about Coach of the Year. A lot of controversy for Coach of the Year. Some people said Jimmy Johnson, who again went 16-0, who won Coach of the Year, deserves it. But others were saying Eddie George of the Tennessee Titans. Titans were looked at the team as a project who were just about a year removed of drafting Marcus Mariota's second overall pick in the draft. So do you feel like Jimmy Johnson earned the Coach of the Year going 16-0, or should have went to a guy like Eddie George, who first year as a head coach came in and built that Titans team to a number one seed?
Still, I think with Jimmy Johnson not only being gone from the NFL game for some years, especially I believe his last coaching stint was with the Cowboys, in which they've won Super Bowls with him. You got to give it to the undefeated guy. Now, what Eddie George did over in Tennessee was great. I mean, was it questionable for him to move Marcus Mariota? Only time will tell to see if Blake Bortles is the answer at quarterback, but he was able to bring in a guy like Gronkowski. He molded Coleman to be a superstar in this league, and so he did some good things over there as well. But you got to give it to the 16-0 team.
Yeah, I feel like that 16-0 was just something that's just so great, where you just have to acknowledge it and just have to give him the trophy for that. But let's talk about these offensive rookie of the years. Now, we know Ezekiel Elliott won offensive rookie of the year for the NFC, but Corey Coleman, again, a guy who was traded to the Titans from the Browns, and all the Titans offseason move. Corey Coleman looking like a superstar receiver, as well as Kevin Dodd on the linebacking core for the Titans. So who do you think was a bigger factor for the Titans in terms of rookie of the year? Corey Coleman, the offensive rookie of the year, or Kevin Dodd, the defensive rookie of the year? Both of them playing for the Titans.
I'm a roll with Coleman. I think Coleman came in. I don't think people expected Coleman to be the guy that he's become now. Maybe Gronk has something to do with that to take some of the pressure off of him. Who knows? But a lot of stuff happened throughout the course of the season. Obviously, QB changes, him coming from Cleveland. I believe he had Mariota for a little bit, and then he went to Blake Bortles. A lot of stuff that happened with Coleman throughout this process. I think that with what he did with that offense, I think it speaks for himself. Not to take anything away from the guy that was playing on defense, because obviously the defense is not as good as the offense. But I feel like what Coleman did was very deserving for his award.
Yeah, I feel like Corey Coleman was too. Kevin Dodd, who wasn't the leader in sacks for the Titans, it was Brian Orakpo, but he kind of, in mid-season, when they went through their 2-game losing streak, he kind of stepped up as that leader for the Titans to step up and be that the new captain, I would say, for that defense for the Titans. But Von Miller, Andy Dalton, two guys who are deserving of their Player of the Year awards. Who do you think? Do you think Andy Dalton got snubbed some people on the AFC side for him getting Offensive Player of the Year? Do you think Bortles should have got over Andy Dalton for Offensive Player of the Year?
100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100% I think Bortles should have got it. Even though Andy Dalton did good for what he was doing with his team. But Blake Bortles, like I said, he came from a different situation, coming from Jacksonville, going to Tennessee, turning that offense around, or even making that offense even better. I think you had to give it to Andy to Blake Bortles. So unfortunately, like I said, it's unfortunate for Andy Dalton, but that's just how it is. Sometimes it doesn't always go your way.
Yeah, and another guy who was kind of snubbed for Offensive Player of the Year was Latavius Murray, the running back, who was a clear cut, looked like best running back in the AFC. He had the most touchdowns outside of Zeke and had the most rushing yards outside of Zeke. But I feel like maybe with the Raiders not making the playoffs, that has something to do with it. Now, let's go over to the NFC side as Cameron Jordan, who led the league and who was top 5 in sacks this past year, won Defensive Player of the Year. Now, do you feel like that somebody else should have made it? We had Desmond Trufant led the league in interceptions with about 10. Do you feel like that he should have won it over Cameron Jordan? You feel like it should have been somebody else that should have won Defensive Player of the Year, like a Bostic from Detroit, who was getting interceptions at the end of the season? Who do you feel like should have won Defensive Player of the Year, or do you think they got it right with Cameron Jordan?
Obviously, a pass rusher is a guy that you need in this league. You need a good guy coming off the edge, and with him creating all those sacks, it helped out his team defensively. Now you look at the other guy, and Desmond Trufant, him having 10 INTs. I mean, that's a good year for him. So, honestly, it could have went either way, but I don't have a problem where the voters went this time around.
Yeah, man, it could have went either way. Now, just to wrap things up, we've pretty much finished talking about the awards. Let's talk just a quick playoff talk. Going into the playoffs, who you have as your Super Bowl pick with the teams that's in the playoffs?
It's unfortunate. Me watching how all this stuff played out. Obviously, the Packers getting hot near the end of the season. Unfortunately for them, they wasn't able to make it. Who knows what would have happened with those guys moving forward. I like Dallas, obviously, with them being 16-0. They have the best chance to not only come out of the NFC, but to win the whole thing. When it comes to the AFC, however, the Broncos have looked good. The Titans have looked good. Even the Chiefs have looked good. And so it's going to be interesting to see who comes out. But like I said, even the Lions, they got hot early. They got hot later on in the season. They might have to face the Cowboys again, a team that they faced it earlier in the year. Well, actually, a few weeks ago, to be specific. And that was a close game as well. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see what happens in these playoffs.
Yeah, it's going to be real interesting too. But I think I can see the Lions and I can see the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I feel like the Cowboys can't go undefeated. It's a hard thing to do. It hasn't been done since the '72 Dolphins. Like you said, the Patriots were close in 2007, but they failed in the Super Bowl. And I feel like the Lions can give the Cowboys that competition because it was a close game a couple weeks back. And I feel like Matthew Stafford might be upset that he didn't get that MVP, can lead the Lions to the Super Bowl, and see, they haven't won it. But it's going to be hard because, Detroit haven't won a playoff game in how long? Has it been about 40, 46 years, like 40, 50 plus years?
Been 46 years for that franchise.
46 years. So Matthew Stafford has a lot on his plate with the Lions with their first round bye. Well, that's going to be pretty much it for this podcast. We will have the playoffs coming soon for the National Fade League. Hope you guys enjoy this podcast. If you have, go ahead and check Kid's description down below. And that's pretty much it, y'all. So we'll catch you on the playoffs tomorrow.